Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific unboxing, or as I like to call it, Colin spending money he doesn't need to this month once again. Right? Hopefully you can hear me okay, because I put the mic over to the side because we've got big box today. So, in the new year, January sort of time, I'm going to be on Evil Live's channel, and we are going to be playing Vampire the Masquerade. So, as it just happens, a few bargains came online in a role playing group, and of course, had to go and buy everything because you know me. So let's take a nosy. Yeah, this is where I find out something else is coming in the post instead, and I got banned from YouTube. Oh, well, tell you one thing, we're well packed. So it's worth looking on Facebook groups, especially role playing groups, because there are people buying and selling stuff you can pick yourself up. So just to give you an idea. Oh, here we go. I may have went a bit daft. So strap in. We're going to be here for a minute. Holy shit! Hang on. As I just caused on the board. Those over there. Gee, these are heavy. Tell you what, who needs dumbbells? Let's go. Right. So we'll go through these one by one, but just give you an idea. I got a few bits. Okay, so let's start off with core rulebook. I need a bigger desk. Let's set these over here. So this is that's almost like when Free League sent me a bunch of stuff. I did a massive unboxing for all the Alien games. That's on the channel. So you've heard me mention in numerous videos and gameplay. This was my introduction to the world of tabletop role playing, Vampire the Masquerade. What I will say is, it's not a beginner's game, even though I was a beginner. You're better off starting off like the D&D or something just to get easy into role playing. This is what I consider more advanced, and it's definitely an adult game. It's 18 plus, so you can say that, you know, there's a reason why it's 18 plus. It is exploring the dark world of being a vampire. You're an inhuman monster, and the politics of said creatures and things that you do to each other in game, in character, the humans, animals, people, you name it. Nothing's off the table. That's the whole point of this game, is an exploration of just the dark and gnarly stuff. If you can get past that, it's a fantastic game. If you can't, it's not for you. I did get a PDF copy and I started reading, and one thing really got me, because this was originally published by White Wolf Games, and then it was bought over by Paradox Games or something, which Renegade Game Studios is now the publisher. So you will get a mature content warning. Now, the original White Wolf one was really simple and to the point. Like, you're not a vampire, you're not an inhuman monster, don't go on talk shows, don't be a tit, don't act like an absolute arsehole, and discern fantasy from reality. The end. That was basically it. It was that blunt. Is it me being old or the language of today? But you almost feel like you're pandering to people who shouldn't be playing this game. It's like, like you read this content warning, it's just, it's fantasy, we're doing nasty stuff, but we're not nasty people. And that's what I read from this, where the original one was just, don't be a twat, you know, simple. It just told you, if you get on the guy, you're acting like an absolute arse and you're not welcome. And I thought that was pretty straight to the point and got the message across, and then attracted the right people. This game, I had to ban this game from my games club. That's how bad it got. Because people come into it, and that's why I'm saying you have to be blunt and say if you don't want to explore that side of things, don't play this game. I think you have to be that blunt so you don't get the sort of people that come in and take it personally and invest so much in their characters that they throw hissy fits and actually fight in real life, which I've seen, and it's mental. Like it's a game. Yes, your character will die quite easy. People get, I think, because the character creation process is almost as intense as creating the game with any of these sort of things. I think that's why people get so emotionally involved. And if you're not emotionally stable, then you're going to put your entire personality into a sheet of paper. And then if something happens to your sheet of paper, you're going to take it as a personal slur. So, with that being said, if you're that sort of person, stay away from this game because not only are you not going to have fun, but you're ruining it for the people that do. So, that's kind of my speech about it. Over. Like, I just want to get that out of the way because I'm getting sick and tired of these sort of people coming in and they're not here to have fun. They're here to get attention, and they use these sort of things as a vehicle, to bring up whatever, and that's all it's about. Because they don't have the basic functionality of a human being to interact with other human beings, they do this sort of stuff, and it just, like I said, it ruins the experience. If you're a horror fan, if you like to explore the darkness, you understand it's pretend, you understand it's catharsis, you understand it's fantasy. Like that's a given. Just because you do something in the game doesn't mean you're going to go out in the streets and do it. In fact, the reason you do it in the game is that's how you get out of your system. The people that don't get it out of their system, the people that deny that aspect of their life, it's the same as if you go the other side, you've got the full edgelord who's like, I hate the world, I hate everything. No, you don't, because I crave being alone in the night, yet you're always seeking companionship. So you're the other side of the coin, if that makes sense. Uh, you know, fucking just accept reality. And this is the moment to step away from reality for a brief period of time, have fun, explore something just completely different and inhuman. And that's it. So, anyway, pretty much standard for role playing games. You have your setting, concept. So, basically, the world of Vampire, the reason it's called Vampire the Masquerade is because that is the whole premise behind this. Vampires exist in the world. They are powerful creatures, but at some stage there came an understanding not to reveal themselves to humanity. And that was known as the masquerade. Basically, don't let the normal human know that monsters are amongst them. Well, there's a lot of right. So looking to start. So I'm trying to get through to the start, but there's a lot of like in-game stuff here, letters, news reports. Basically, it's sort of building you into the universe that way, almost Call of Cthulhu style, where it's done through letters and manuscripts and so on. That you're not actually reading a third-person account. They're trying to get you immersed in. That can put people off or can draw people in. It depends on your personality. It depends on me. I have to be in the mood. Like that's something you sit down and read without playing the game to get yourself immersed in the universe, and I'm happy to do that. But if you're looking to play straight away, it can be distracting. So first few pages here, quite a few pages. Right, so here we go. Oh, by the way, that's why the bright lightning concepts. A world of darkness. You're dancing to a relentless techno beat in the press. Oh, fuck's sake, I can hardly read that. Yeah, I think I picked the wrong lighting to read this. But you need bright lights, just the way it's That's a bit better. Right. Anyway. Okay, so it's giving a wee insert. But essentially, that's it. You're a vampire in the vampire world. Humans are just cattle. That's the way you see them. Other vampires can be just cattle. It's all part of the vampire society and rising up the ranks. There is somebody always appointed as the prince. Prince, by the way, gender neutral term in this. It could be a male or female. The prince is in charge of a particular area, and everybody defers to the prince. Not to defer to the prince is death. Breaking the masquerade is death. That's the hard lines in this game. So if you break the masquerade and reveal yourself to the human world, you're finished. There's no coming back from that. If you go against the prince and disobey the rules, actively work against them and get caught, you're finished. No coming back from that. That is really the only two hard rules that are set in this game. Everything else then is up for grabs. And you play it. Think of the Roman Empire. Think of the shenanigans and behind the scenes of the Senate and the daggers out in the night and the poison chalices and workings to screw other people over. That's the game of Vampire. So, of course, you'll have the storyteller. That's the person who runs the game. They will set out a scenario. You and your characters will take part in that scenario, but in between that, you have your own personal goals. You may work against the other players. You may align with some. And it's all not just your individual character, but your clan. So you start off in a clan. That's the way it works. Each clan has their own ability, drawbacks, their own rules, and then that's what you use as your basis to play your character. Yeah, Chris, we're going to be playing the game in January. The session 0 is going to be December, which will be fun. That'll be over on Eva Live's channel, so check that out, folks. I don't know. I was wanting to play with Colin Robinson's character because he's such an enigma, and the fact that his whole persona is camouflage, hunting. If you think about it, you wear hunting gear for a specific environment. That's what he does. That's his hunting gear that he wears initially, and you see him drop out of that persona, and you see the real Colin Robinson throughout the series, and it's so hilarious. Oh, by the way, folks, the game we're going to be playing, Vampire the Masquerade, is going to be based on what we do in the shadows. So we're going to lean into the comedy horror aspect. Bit of a challenge actually, because this game is intense. I'll not lie, it's an intense, super serious game, but at the same time, like my favorite characters to play are Malkavians. Malkavians are absolutely batshit crazy, and they're just in such a strict, rigid society. They get a by ball, and it's so much fun. It's just you can just go around and be absolutely chaotic in a game, and not derail the game, if that makes sense. In fact, if a good storyteller and the characters will understand what your character is and make use of it. But the whole point of Malkavian is they have foresight. They can actually see into the future. So they will have moments of clarity that when the Malkavian speaks openly, everybody stops and listens because they've got an insight into the universe. No one else does. It's a bit like Call of Cthulhu. If you gaze into the face of an old one, you lose your, what was it? 100 D100 sanity loss if you meet Cthulhu. That's that sort of thing. Like you're gone from the planet, your mind, once you step into the ethereal realm. So it's about the same with that clan. But anyway, Kindred Society. That's all part of the Kindred, all part of the Camarilla. Cain was a farmer, Abel a herdsman. This is not lost on the scientifically minded Kindred who seek their ancient origins. Most of them place the advent of Homo sanguinis relatively late in the story of mankind, somewhat around 12,000 BC, with the development of agriculture and the rise of civilization, as the fall of Eden or hunter-gatherer society, if you will. So it has Judeo-Christian roots. It's the idea of Cain and Abel. Which one killed the other one? Cain. Cain, yeah, the mark of Cain. So Cain was cursed. He was the first vampire, and every vampire then can trace their lineage back to Cain. Is the story behind it. In fairness, it doesn't. This is not a religious book. It doesn't play too much. It's not like Anomaly. It's just building the universe, of ancient myths, and when something becomes over time becomes cloudy and you've no idea. I mean, like the Dark Ages with things that are not written down. It's all supposition. So basically, that's the setting. Got the Camarilla, which is the most widely influential society in Kindred. So Kindred are the vampire. Camarilla is basically their senate, their main council. It's basically how vampires don't live in towers by themselves or in gutters. It's how they've built themselves up and organized and been able to basically last the centuries. 6 traditions. The first tradition, the Masquerade, Domain, Progeny. So that's all creating vampires. There are rules about everything you do, so you just don't go around biting and creating vampires. The accounting, hospitality, destruction. So everything is built in the rules of the society. You act a certain way, and this is part of the game. How your character acts depends on how vampire society, in essence, reacts to them. Yeah, straight. I always refer back to Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff played the roles, and Lon Chaney played the roles straight, where Abbott and Costello were the goofs. So you need that sort of, you need the chaos, you need the straight man. It's all same as slapstick. You need to see the wooden plank 3 times before it actually strikes. It's all scientific. So you play it straight. You play, if you're playing an insane character, your character must 100% believe what they're doing. So if they see the green monsters coming out of the shadows, they see the green monsters coming out of the shadows, and you play it straight like that. And that's where the comedy comes in. If you play it just to be arsing about, yeah, you're wasting everybody's time. But then again, that's enter the game with the spirit of playing the game. I've always said that. If you're entering a game just to be an attention seeker, or what in the role playing circles is known as main character syndrome, if you're entering a game with that mindset, you're going to ruin it anyway, and nothing you do will be right because you're not entering with the right attitude. And that's what it's all about. And also, that's where you have to understand the games you're playing. I don't like these watered down, trying to make it for the masses. This is not a game for the masses. That's not the point. You want to play fluffy games, there's plenty of fluffy games out there. You don't need to water this down to suit you. If it's not for you, it's not for you. No, and nobody will ever denigrate you for that. That's why we have different games, because we've all different personalities with different playing styles, with different things that we like, things we want to explore. Now, if you're in a role playing group and they're primarily a vampire playing group, then I can understand where you might have a problem. But there's plenty of groups out there now, and especially today with online options, you can always find a group to play different games. Most role playing groups will play multiple games. That's the whole point. It's you try different systems, you try different, except D&D players are kind of stuck. But most role players, apart from that, they want to try and play different games, want to try different rule sets, want to try different settings, because then you can bring something from that into another game and enhance your experience. That's what it's all about: becoming a better player, becoming a better game master, storyteller, DM, whatever you want to call it. So, as you can see, there's quite a bit in this alone. Lexicon of the Damned. So these are all the basically, it's the index of different terms. So did I see Prince there? Prince, a vampire who has claimed a given expanse of domain as their own, generally a city, and supports that claim against all others. The term is gender neutral. In anarch cities, they are sometimes called barons. So there you go. You know what I mean? It's usually city territory, the dawn. That's kind of how it works. So they own that thing. So that's the setting. Just to show you how expansive this game is, right? This is basically the clan. Clans take quite a bit of time. I'm not going to go through this. There's a link in this description, obviously, if you want to pick this up for yourself. I don't want to get into the other books as well. So we've got the Bruja. Just to give you some examples of what they look like. Typical dress and fashion, sort of the punk rockers. You've got the Gangrel, which are essentially more animalistic. They'd almost be close to werewolves, and they're very got a high affinity for animals and would have familiars. Malkavian, so much fun. Honestly, if you're playing this for the first time, I would highly recommend, if you want to like stretch yourself in roleplay, is play a Malkavian. Also, there's a lot of forgiveness, because if you play one of the other clans, you're really stuck with the rules and you're limited, and there's more of a chance you make a mistake. If you play a Malkavian, at least you have a chance that a lot of your actions will be forgiven because of your disposition. The Nosferatu, so names what they say, they are the monstrous looking vampires. Bring it over here. Toreador, they're your sort of hedonists, pleasure seekers. Almost not quite. Actually, they could reach Cenobite level, but it's sort of that path they're going. If that makes sense. Almost your hot topic goth type. But the Tremere, they're your sort of wizards, your spellcasters. So the ones that play a lot with the sort of blood magic and so forth. The Ventru, they're your nobility. So they're your rulers. They tend to want the rules society, your social climbers, your aristocracy. Gives you a wee bit of an idea. Like I said, not going through this because we've got quite a few books to do in this unboxing. And the Catif, they're the clanless. So they don't know, either their Sarah was killed or they've become a line where they're not really part of one of the main clans. There could be one of the main clans, but it's not known. Not a good starting character to play, because you're instantly sort of met with suspicion and you're not part of the established order, so you kind of get looked down upon. So that would be one I would suggest leaving until you've had a few games under your belt and you're comfortable playing the game. You can understand why this game takes, if you start playing Vampire a lot, it's so immersive that you can play this and nothing else. Like, there are just purely Vampire players, they don't play anything else. And back in the 2000s, they were easy denoted with wearing long leather trench coats. I never went that far. Did do the leather trousers though. The Thin Blooded. I don't know if these are a new edition. I'm not too familiar with this lot, but essentially they're not very powerful vampires. Um, so yeah, you're looking at either Nosferatu or the Gangrel for that. So if you want to go the sort of monstrous Count Orlok, that's Nosferatu. If you want to be almost like a werewolf, borderline werewolf, hippie in the woods sort of thing, then the Gangrel. But yeah, Thin Blooded, I would suggest once again, that's a clan you leave until you're comfortable playing the game, like you're really experienced. Just because it's a difficult one. This is what I'm trying to say. In this game, if you're not like considered high up or have a good backer, if that makes sense, it's going to be difficult to do anything. Now everyone starts out as low level starter characters, as you build on, but you don't want to make it more difficult for yourself by playing a complicated character. So there are ones that you kind of want to leave for a bit. And like I said, I would suggest Thin Blooded and the Katif. Do I have Assamites in this? Rules, okay. So Vampire the Masquerade uses mechanical game rules to decide a reliable framework in the world. Neither the players nor the storyteller want the storyteller to make up everything as they go along, after all. So, standard with any role playing game, most of it is story driven. You're deciding narrative, but where the dice rolls comes in is where you have to carry out an action. The door is locked. You want to break open the door, but you want to do it quietly so nobody hears you. Do you succeed or not? That's where the dice roll comes in, and that's your skill. You get into combat, as always. Best example: do you win the combat? Do you not? That's where dice rolls takes the aspect of it's a random chance, but obviously you load your chances with your skills, like with all role playing games. That's purely what it's for. The better role playing games don't overuse the dice. You know sort of when to do it. An experienced group that know each other, I think, and when there's a lot of trust in the group, you don't tend to roll the dice as often. It's more like if you're trying out a new system, you've never played a game before, you'll roll dice more because you're trying to figure out the mechanics and how things work. As you get more experience in that game, you find yourselves rolling just naturally. Like there's no hard and fast rule. You just find yourself naturally not rolling dice because certain things are just a given. Because of your certain skill of the character, then it's not a challenge. It's where something you do presents a challenge and the outcome of whether you succeed or not takes the story a certain direction. And you can tell actually, like I came over from the wargaming world and I just wanted to roll dice every 2 minutes because I was a wargamer. I was using my little tiny fighting men, put them on the tabletop. I just wanted to roll loads of dice. That was the mentality. It took me a while to get out of that, if that makes sense, and understand that role playing games are different. But there's nothing wrong with both. As long as you don't derail the story and it doesn't stop and start, it's all about flow. So yourselves as players and the storyteller will know whether the game's going a certain pace and whether you're happy with it or not. And you only find out by playing. I can sit here and talk to the cows come home, but the best way to get involved with this is just to play. Check out Adam's channel. If you go to our main one, there, what do you call it? The feature channels are in the bottom. Evil Live. I'm going to be running there. It's where we played the Evil Dead game and the Innominate game. So you saw those sessions. A lot of fun. Pretty much the same crowd as well taking part. So if you check those games out, you'll kind of know what they expect. Also Infinite Monkey Tales. Join our Discord server. Massive thriving gaming community there. Loads of stuff happening. the channel gains and the featured ones. So have a look. Right. This is pretty much standard damage, healing, examples of roles. Like if you've played a role-playing game before, yeah, you know all this. Sorry, I'm trying to fly through this. Sort of characters. So here's the whole section on building your character. Character creation. Role of storyteller. So sometimes the adventure will dictate what characters are needed for it, because, and that's where you have to have a conversation with the person running the game. Remember, this is a collaborative experience. Everyone's here to have fun. And if you're wanting to do a particular thing, but it doesn't fit in with this particular scenario, you'll not be able to do it. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad idea, but you might need to put a pin in it for a future game. Always, and this is a frustrating thing, I see people are very immediate. They want the instant gratification of that particular session, and they're not thinking long term. And I think it's a new player thing as well, because when you've got a group of role players and they've played a few games together and they're talking about, oh, do you remember this happened, that happened? You want to be part of that. I get it. But you only get to be part of that over loads and loads of play time. Like I play every week, twice a week, sometimes. 3 times if there's plenty going on the channel. As you know, we run games here as well. We're currently playing Workborg, which that's I've got the PDF rulebook, but I'm going to get the physical copy because that game is, I'm in love with that game. It is brilliant. But yeah, you're not going to get that instant gratification. This is a long burner. If you're in the role playing games, you're in the role playing games. It's, you're in for the long haul. And once you get sucked in this world, there's not really any coming out. I thought I'd left in mid 2000s, but here I am back again. It's part of it. So obviously, part of your character creation, what clan are you part of? Who sired you? Who made you a vampire? That's where you start, and then from there, you follow the tree. You've seen me do it in other games. Depending on your class characteristics, that's where you go, and you just sort of follow the path. Like I said, once Adam has a stream, I'll be posting it on the channel anyway when the session 0 is. So you'll see a bunch of us. I think he said the 8th. So begin the summer anyway. Next couple of weeks, like very soon, we're going to be sitting together for a session 0 where we're all going to create our characters and discuss concepts, etc. And that's as important as the game itself. So, like I said, keep an eye. I'll be posting that, and be sure to join us. Embrace and after. Yep. Core traits. It's your usual. Your physical strength, dexterity, stamina, social, charisma, manipulation, composure, mental attributes, intelligence, wits, resolve, willpower. Willpower is really useful in this because you can be dominated by other vampires to do stuff you don't want to. You've also got the thirst, which we've got willpower, brawlcraft, firearms, other skills here, larceny, melee. But you've also got the thirst, and you need to control that, or else you go on a killing spree, you break the masquerade, then your character dies. That's pretty much the way it works. So, all your usual skills that you can pick absolutely plethora of. Some clans are more attuned to certain skills than others. Yeah, that's absolute. Convictions, beliefs, touchstones, ambition, and desire. So that's basically your moral center of your character and what motivates them, and basically what they're trying to get out of this particular scenario, or as a vampire living in this universe, what are they trying to achieve? Predator types. Yeah, so that's how basically you go feeding. Different ways to do it. Advantages. Some blood, merits, and flaws. Yeah. So basically, you go through each clan, their advantages, disadvantages being each one. certain clans will structure themselves certain ways. What else we got? What else? Sheet class, resources, coterie creation. So that's coterie creation. Coterie? It's coterie, isn't it? Yeah. Your domain, where you live, where your base backgrounds. Yeah. There's absolutely, like I said, this is absolutely tons of stuff here. Vampires. Difference between pop culture vampires, or even legendary Balkan vampires and the kindred. Trip up would be slayers and even some new fledged Cainites. However, similarities argue that myth makers, both modern and medieval, occasionally tasted the truth. Yeah, so there's a bit of truth from the lore, what they touched on. They didn't include Assamites in this as a clan. Have they taken that out now? Assamites are like super powerful assassins. I think they pulled it out to make them a tool of the prince. Like you basically don't get the higher one or B one. That was another character I like to play with was an Assamite. Hunger dice. Yep. So that's you need to keep a check on that. You need to feed regularly. You need to build into your character. You need to stay out of the sunlight. All that good stuff. Compulsions. There's so much can be built in to make a really fledged character. So you can understand why people get emotionally invested in a sheet of paper because this is you're building a three-dimensional person who just happens to be a vampire, and you've got all their motivations and strengths. Even movies or story, authors sometimes don't put as much effort as a role player would. That's why I will say, like, even the storytelling in role playing games seems to be far superior than a lot of stuff put out there because, yeah, just you do get intensely involved. But yeah, you've everything here, and it's up to yourself. Like, you don't have to go into all of this if you're starting off. You just start with a basic character thrown in the world. You've just been sired, and you could almost be like the third person. You could almost be the narrator. You're discovering this world for yourself as you go through the adventure, and pick up bits as you go along. Then throw bits in as you get more experience. So don't think that you have to both all this knowledge. Like this whole thing does not have to go into your head when you play a game. That's the storyteller's job. It's up to the storyteller. And if you're not an experienced storyteller, don't make a complicated game. There's nothing wrong with starting simple. This is all here for you as you delve deeper into the games, but you don't have to use it all. Just use enough to get characters created, to get a scenario set up, and then play the game. And you'll make mistakes. We all do. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the problem is as well, one of the disadvantages of stream games today is people are expecting to be the polished professional, never make a mistake, almost like they're in a movie and they're not just playing a game. And as you know, there's always lovely people in the comments. You made a mistake. This is not how that rule goes. Me. Who gives a shit as long as everyone's having fun? If everyone round your table, person running the game, the people playing the game are having fun, fucking doesn't matter. That's the important thing. And if the people that turned up for the first session all come back for the second session, you've won. You've played the game properly. Yes, it's good to talk about the minutiae of rules, etc., but you don't need it. Doesn't rule you. These are at the end of the day, they're guides. The important thing of the role playing games, you're telling a story, and everyone's enjoying themselves being part of that story, and everyone takes away a few memories and something to bond with afterwards. God, remember we did that? Yeah, that was silly. And that's part of the fun. That's when you're enjoying yourself. But don't force that. That happens naturally. States of damnation. Yeah, he really disciplines. Really goes into it, and different levels as you level up as well. This is a game where you level up. So as you level up your character, you get more to play with. But there you go. That is the core rulebook. Not disappointing. That's a meaty book. And like I said, even if you're not into role playing, these are a bloody good read. Honestly, if you like vampire lore and you want to take it and you're bored with your traditional woo, cloak and cape, which can be in one of these as well. You want something a bit darker and grittier, these are well worth the read. Chris and I are going to be covering a show called Kindred the Embraced, which is based on this game. It was only 8 episodes, so we'll cover it in two streams. But yeah, we're going to have a look at that, and that's sort of how this world plays out. I haven't seen it in years. Like, came out in the 90s. Like, this game was massive in the 90s. Right. Let's do Player's Guide. Once again, another meaty book. And I don't think I've got any comic books for this, did I? Camera. No, I didn't. Right. So, in addition to these books, you've individual books for each vampire clan. So if you really want to get into a particular clan, you decide, I like this, I want to get more involved, you can pick up a clan book as well and really go into where your clan comes from, and and not just general kindred society, but just even moving up in your own clan can be a motivation for you. Defending your clan, defending your clan's ambitions as opposed to your own as well. That can be a whole area to play. Like, there's so much you can get stuck into. But anyway, let's have a look. Player's Guide. Always hit and miss with Player's Guide. Like, the Call of Cthulhu one was really disappointing. You may as well just pick up the rule book. It's something that's generally not put out a lot. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. A lot of the material, like in these, is aimed towards storytellers. I don't know, like, I would pick up scenarios, but as you know, I do not read scenarios until I've played the game, if I'm not planning to run it. The reason being, I don't want to spoil it in case it comes up. This is a bit where I think the sort of role-playing aspect, the business model, is a bit lacking. There's not that much for players. If you're just primarily a player, no interest in running the game, you just turn up, it can be difficult to invest in the world. Vampire does this differently, however. Like I said, you can pick up your clan, you can really get in depth into it. You can have a look at this. Plus, there's also other games, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Maze the Ascension, or you can be Vampire Hunters, which, yeah, you don't want to play that game. That game's fine until you meet a vampire, then you're dead. Right. Seeking information. All right, so we're starting off with the news report. February 13th, 2022. Hector Carson, age 44, was serving as security for the Tangier Casino in North Las Vegas, Nevada. When he did not check in, a supervisor discovered his body behind the casino with his neck broken and other injuries consistent with a murderous assault. Right, so it's a police report. Blood splatters, the outlaw, the revolutionary, Kabbalist, or member of a secret society. Indeed, heretics of all kinds are of a highly associative, if not sociable, disposition, and a certain clement element of play is prominent with all their doings. Words do unlive by, live life, etc., daytime, human, right? So this is basically explaining to you, serve the clans, corrupt crush, right? So you're a vampire, you're in this world, how do you live as a vampire? Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. So that's basically the clans, right? There we go. There's loads of loads of clans. Probably some that haven't even been. The Ministry, Nosferatu, Malkavian, Lazombra, Maltusha, Kata, Gangrel, Bruja, Ravnos, Lumbray. Oh, so Lumbray haven't seen them in ages. Yeah, they've taken out Assamites. Why have they taken out Assamites? You can probably tell I last played 2nd edition, so I'm like, look, this is 5th edition. I'm sort of looking at it going, there's stuff missing. Can anybody tell me why they took Assamites out of the game? Who are the Banu? Hakim, Blood Sorcery, Celebrity, Obfuscate. Right. Alright, so it's basically going through each clan, what their main disciplines are. So these are the cliff notes, basically, of each clan. Yeah, so that's what we're doing here. So what you do as a player is you look at the clans. I think that's your good starting point. You look at each of the vampire clans and basically pick which one resonates with you, what you find easiest to play. As you get more experience, then you can try different clans if you want to shake it up a bit and go out of yourself. But I would think, look at the clans and go, oh, I like the idea of that. And then stick with it till you get your first couple of games out of the way. Once you do that, then you can start looking at other. And then don't forget, you come to the table, not everybody's one clan. Everyone's different clans. So as you look at other players, as you're going through and you see what they're about, and they might say or do something, you go, oh, I wonder what that's about. That's how you get introduced to other clans in and decide whether you want to have a go. But yeah, go through the clans, what they're about. And you'll know yourself, you'll skip one. Like if you're not into punk rock, for example, you'll not want to be a Bruja. You'll just not fit there. So you'll be like, but if you are, you'll look at them and you go, yeah, that's me, man. And you'll have a crack. So it's all about that. If you don't want to be what do you call them ones in Twilight in Italy? The aristocracy. If you don't want to be a Ventry, that's what they basically were. Ventry type characters. If you don't want to be them, you'll not be interested. We're nah, the other one's Sparkle. They don't do sparkly vampires. So, but I would say that what do you call it? Edward's clan? They'd be closest to Gangrel. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would say they'd be close to, because of the lived in nature and they only hunted animals and stuff. That's very Gangrel type, except they didn't have the deformities because obviously Hollywood needs pretty people. But I would say their lifestyle was, and the fact that they were able to form a pact with werewolves, which is virtually unknown. If you look at Underworld, they're Ventry through and through. Like that's who was it? The lore master was a Toreador. He had his little head in his castle he was imprisoned in. You just see him being, Toreador. Who do you call the father? No, they were a clan, but they've removed them. That's the point. Assamites are a clan, but they've taken them out of the book. That's what I'm wondering here. Like I had the Assamite 2nd edition. It was all, and it basically comes from the ancient, Arab assassin. Where the word assassin comes from, and Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. If you think of, you see the training camp for assassins, and they're doing the same with the buckets of water, but the holes in the bucket, it's just doing it, breaking them down and making them malleable, and then they basically become living weapons. That was the Assamite clan. They're brutal, and the encounter ones, you had no chance. But think of the Hitman, Agent 41. Is it 41 or 44? You know him. That's an Assamite in the vampire world. But they've taken, so we've got the ministry. They're like religious types. Ravnos, So yeah, that's what it's doing here. Let's skip on a bit. Clan being variants. Right. So once again, sort of your being, what works against you. Callousness, Malkavian, unnatural manifestations, Bruja, violence, noxious blood, decay. Right. So once again, you look at your clan, you think, I want to play that. You look at all the attributes. Oh, I get all this, but then you have to look at the downside. Oh, right, I have to watch out for that. So as a player, this is good. I'm glad to put this out. Characters, yeah, it's basically going through the same as the rulebook. Yep, order, powers, and disciplines. So once again, I would even say if you don't want to pick up, because I think it's a wee bit cheaper than the main core book, you know, still a weighty read. So if you're interested in the world and how role playing games work, then this is worth having a look at. But basically, that's what it is. It's going for a player's perspective, so it's not where I think if you get the main rulebook, you feel like there's pressure on you to run a game and play. So this is just a little bit lighter, gives you an insight into the world and how to create yourself, and then it gives you an idea. If coming into a game like this, I think it's if you have a good sense of what you want to be, then that helps a lot. You know, and it helps out the storyteller too, and you can have the conversation. Like if you're brand new to the game, of people want players at the table. That's one thing about this. There's always that supply and demand. There's either too many GMs and not enough players, or too many players, not enough GMs. You know, it's always cyclical, or there's always a scheduling thing where people are playing a certain game, they can't join this one. So there's always supply and demand. If you want to play role playing games, you will find games, you will find groups to play with. There's no doubt about that. There's never a case of, apart from scheduling and numbers, where you're not going to get a game, because it's ongoing. It is almost a lifestyle. There's people that do this, do nothing else. You know, it's their entire lives. It's a main hobby. Where, like to me, I'm too fickle. I'm into all sorts, but I always come back to this sort of stuff. Um, yeah, but honestly, if you're interested, that's a good one to have a look at. Give you an insight into the universe, and if you're playing, but the good thing about it as well, if you're just wanting to take part in the game, you don't have to have anything. The storytellers apply everything to you and explain, and you just go along with it. This is purely if you're actually interested in finding out more. Right, did I see the camera? Right. So this is Vampire Society. This is their structure and organization. It's think of 40k. You can buy a set of models, buy a set of miniatures, paint them up the basic level, and jump on a table and roll dice. But if you want to get into the lore behind the universe, then there's a whole plethora of material, and it's up to you how deep down the rabbit hole you go. That sort of thing, you know, that's what makes these games so immersive, and why they have a loyal following, and why normies will never get it. I think that's when we get annoyed, when the normie world of corporate that's just shove this onto a Happy Meal and throw it out there don't get what the actual universe is about, and then they change things and ruin things, and because of social trends. And it's like, no, because the game's been around decades before them, it'll be around decades after, once this sort of hiccup in the world happens, you know, finishes, and people get back to common sense again. But anyway, introduction. My dear child, kindred, what a beautiful word. So we've got like a bit of, yeah, a letter to Sarah. View from the top. The Camarilla is a secret society. This is obvious. Sorry, it's in the black and white text again. Fucking hard to read in this light. It's obvious But what is the final initiation? When do you know all the secrets? This experience is not unfamiliar to the mortal world. Power offers many invitations to those who would possess it. Politicians, journalists, industrialists all get invited to social situations that turn out to conceal something more. Sometimes these secrets become formal societies. The Grand Orient, Skull and Bones, names you haven't even heard of. When you enter such a select group, you become part of a new world. You understand how the world works from a higher level. So yeah, we're going into secret societies and so on, which makes sense. That's Blade did quite well with that. The first Blade movie did really well, introducing the secret society and vampires at the top of the chain and stuff going on that people don't even realize is happening right around them. When we do, Chris and I do Resident Evil tomorrow, we're seeing like corporate secrets and stuff going on that, people go along their daily lives and don't understand that half the shenanigans going on like right under their feet. Right, there's a whole term for that. Oh god. Shit. There's a word that I've just forgotten. A vampire drinking from another vampire. It's a sexual thing. It's purely it's not sanguineous. God, it's in the book, right? There is a term for that. It's generally a sexual thing, but you can drain another vampire to the points, but you can be drained like certain levels. You've got blood points that go down on your character sheet, and you can also give blood to another vampire if they're like weak, etc. But generally, for pleasure, you can swap it. An interesting one is with Malkavians. A Malkavian can drink from a vessel, so a human, right? If you drink from the same human, you get a taint of their madness for a set amount of time. So if a Malkavian drinks from a human and offers you the wrist, you're getting what they have, and you're going down that path for a while. So there's one to play a bit with. There is an aspect of that as well, transferring stuff. Once again, it's books that size, goes into it. The whole thing with sharing and creating other vampires has rules, and it's a very each clan has their own process and way to go about it. If you go into a city and you just start creating vampires for the sake of it, you are breaking the masquerade. If that makes sense, and you're finished, and your kin, your sarlings are done as well. So here we go. Upper echelons. You got your inner circle, just the cars, and then you got your princes and archons. So in the game of Vampire, the highest level you're going to encounter is a prince, unless you're playing a campaign or like the same character a really long time. You're not going to encounter anything above a prince. Just it takes you have to be playing years to start building that in because it's just too much. That makes, like I said, this is such an in-depth game that it's not worth trying to throw all them concepts in. You have to start small and build up. Nope. You have to then give the human your blood to turn them. And like I said, there's each clan has their own way of doing it. What do you call that TV series about the detective? It's a Canadian one. Forever Night, wasn't it? TV series back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he always messed up. He could never turn a vampire because he always drunk too much. He got it into a feeding frenzy. And every time he had tried to, because you have to basically drain the human to near death, like right to the point of death before you give them your blood to drink. It's a very almost scientific process. But if you succumb to your bloodlust, you just kill the person. And that's it. You don't make another vampire. and you have to be a certain level, I think. And sometimes if you're too low a level or got a taint and you pass that on, then you don't create good value. You can create like thin blooded or various things. That's once again that's a whole aspect of playing about. Think about Innomine when the character I borrowed decided to make a zombie. Like that was a whole thing, and that was a whole process. And it's not, it could go wrong, and it did go wrong. That they throw these bits into the game because that's a very, very specialized thing. Forever Night, yes, it was a good show. It was actually a decent show. Very much the hot topic goth crowd it was pulling in, but still, his sire ran a radio station, a nighttime radio station. There was a ridiculousness to it, but it was a lot of fun. You saw him; he got a special sunblock and all. He was able to go out in the sun for a bit, and then just play with all sorts and being discovered in the mass. Essentially the masquerade's being played there. You don't reveal yourself to humans. Anyway, history of faith, or how we kill God to survive. Reformation, blah blah blah. So yeah, it falls along sort of human. The Church of Cain, the Pillars, Church of Blood. So yeah, there's a whole other level you can take this, but books like this are good to read because then you understand from the top down what this universe is, and without metagaming, if you're playing a vampire that's been around for a bit, obviously generally when you come in this game, you're newly spawned. But if you've been around for a while, you'll understand some of this because you won't have been alive if you didn't. That's the way this works. Cults, heresies, and orders. Eyes of Malachi, the Aspirants of Yima, the Urshalgi Hunt, the Amaranthans, the Franklins. Right, so there's different orders. And so here's another aspect of being a religious order in this world. You can play with that. Our mission statement. So lovely corporate speak. Leading humankind. So yeah, it's basically the Camarilla, just not just vampires, but leads the world. It's when you talk about your Illuminati conspiracy theories, that's what this is playing into. It's all fun. You just got those people that just believe they're there to rule, and that's their correct place. Maintaining the balance between humanity and the beast. Yeah, that's not succumbing to your bloodlust, to your animal instincts, and basically going crazy. Upholding the traditions. The Masquerade, there's a whole section here in the Masquerade, what it's about. There's a few letters and stuff. Yeah, so it's all, all easy to read. Once again, this is worth getting just to read into the society, even if you're not planning to play. The Gehenna War. So obviously these are things that happened way in the past and then still might affect what's happening today in the world that you're playing. So various conflicts around the world and how it related to the vampires basically pulling the strings in the background. So what they're saying is from the time of Cain and Abel, vampires have existed because Cain is the first vampire. Ever since then, vampires have been behind everything in human society in some shape or form. Anything that's went on in the world, in the past or present, a vampire's behind it, or vampire machinations are behind it. That's what this whole setting's about. So it's once again something worth playing into. I wouldn't bring too much real world stuff into it though. Maybe a bit of something from like ancient history, but I wouldn't. The whole point of this game is escapism. So while the mechanism's here to bring real world events, I would strongly suggest that you don't. We'll see today in the news, etc. You don't want to get into that. If you want to do that, just go watch the news. The whole point of this game is escapism and to be inhuman monsters and revel in it, and revel in the machinations of inhuman monsters and what motivates them. So, like I said, I would strongly suggest not doing that. The Second Inquisition, I think that's basically where the Masquerade came into being. The humans decided to try and wipe out all vampire kind. Yep. Uber group. So once again, the youth directions. If you really want to get into groups and societies, God, it's all here. Like that's what this all is. And it's you can bring it into the game if you're running the game. You can bring a bit of this in, but don't just spell it out for the players. Just let them know there's something going on in the background. So you can have this playing out in a game, but it's at a higher level. So you've got what the players experience, and then you've got this stuff get on, and they might meet an individual. There might be a phrase, might be something. And what it'll do as well, and more for experienced players, because obviously new players will just go right over their head. But just that little tease for an experienced player going, oh, right. And then their character might have heard about it or might not. And it might mean back the hell away from this. These are things well above our pay grade, so to speak. Or you might want to investigate further, but I wouldn't just have it. I wouldn't get your normal players in a group involved in this sort of stuff. These are basically storytelling mechanics. I think this is more aimed towards a storyteller than a player. But at the same time, if you're a player and you just want to immerse yourself in the world or a casual observer, this is good. Yep. 18th generation. The institution of blood marriage. So if you want to get married as a vampire. The court. So that deals with transgressions. The Prince, the Seneschal, all that kind of stuff. Primogen Council. Yeah, so basically that's how their mechanics of the courts work. Generally in the game, if you go against something, you're dead. But there could be a case you're facing trial for something, and then that could be part of your role playing experience, is to get yourself out of the, out of the bother and accept a lesser punishment than getting wiped off the face of the earth. So this can be brought into the games, but like I said, it just wouldn't fully play a scenario and have this as like a higher level sort of tease of a bigger universe. City, important cities in the world of darkness. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so basically you pick a city, it's going to give you a bit of an insight into each one. Kindred clans. Yep, so once again we're going to go back into our... That looks very AI, doesn't it? That looks as if it was AI art. Yeah, so pretty much going through the clans again. Toreadors, Tremere, Malkavians, Nosferatu, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Yep. So this is purely for world building. Dim-blooded, yep. Institutional conflict. So that's sort of going into where each clan and section butts heads with each other. There you go, that's it. So yeah, that's a nice one. It's a supplement. I think it's aimed more towards storytellers than player orientated, but if you're interested in the lore of this world, which is fascinating, then to me it's worth a read. What else we got? Oh, another big thick one. Cults of the Blood Gods. Right, so you can be your normal societal vampire, climbing the social ladder, exerting more power, or you can be an outright zealot. Which that Camarilla book sort of leads on to, points towards. But if you want to be in a vampire cult, it might mention other entities, because these were designed to cross over. But like Underworld, you'd meet a werewolf. Like there's a whole game, Werewolf the Apocalypse, which I'm going to get back, probably going to get back into at some point. I think I'm down that path, but they have their own clan structure and stuff. Like I said, Mage Ascension's another one, so you can encounter other things apart from vampires that are powerful and have their own societies. What you don't want to do is trigger a war. Back to Breaking the Masquerade, an all-out war between vampires and werewolves will be Breaking the Masquerade, and humans just caught in the middle. We have Just Another Family Dinner, Introduction, Chapter 1, Rise of the Methuselah Cult, Kindred Religions, The Cult of Death and Undeath, Hikara, did I miss one? Mortal Cults, Cult Construction. I've never played as a cult. I'll have to say, I've never played as a cultist. I've never investigated this area of the game. So I don't know what the gameplay is like. So I'll just state that out there now. Bloodlines and lore sheets, Sticks and Bones. Probably all magic comes with it, so Believe in the Blood, yep. Place of worship, so basically you're setting up a church and a following and the practices. So there's some are laid down here and others basically you can make up. Protect the flock. Bed the Bones. On a Mission for the Goddess. Heal Gorgo, Slayer of Men. Trickle Up Religion. Beware false religions. Yeah, so you want to be an absolute zealot that you're the only one true believer of whatever. So Kindred Religions, these are sort of the known ones. The Ashfinders are millennials killing kindred elders. Data mining. Cinder Institute. So basically it's going into that whole, well, there's quite a bit here. All right, so as you move up in the cult as well as your vampire, you basically like moving up, you get a new set of robes. I'm guessing you've never played Werewolf the Apocalypse. Trust me, if you come across like a Get of Fenris, most vampires don't have a chance. And you can have silver immunity as a werewolf. As you get higher up, that's a trait you can take. So, yeah. It's not that straightforward, mate. God, yeah, this is proper. Right, so all that is in the Ashfinders. Then you got the Church of Cain. Oh god, this is a whole. This is almost a game in itself. The Church of Set. Bum, bum. Still going, absolutely tons. Yeah, so this is something this is advanced. Like you're well into the game, you're a regular player, and you want something a bit extra for the table. Shalom. It's called Shalomite. I messed up. Sorry, skip past. Cult of Shalom. Right. Yeah, so right, basically you've got each cult, what they're about. So once again, this isn't necessarily rule mechanics, but this is lore building and how you set up the structure of your cult. This is a game in itself. So if you're playing this, like, I think it's going to be hard to fit into a normal game. You can have them part of a cult, but really, that's your whole mission is part of that cult. I don't see you being a cultist and just mixing with normal kindred vampires, if that makes sense. Members of Camarilla. So this is, yeah, this is basically a whole other side of things. I haven't played this aspect. It'd be interesting. And do you all have to be the same cult to play a game? That'd be one thing. If you have, right, has anyone played Vampire where it's centered around cults? Are you all part of the one cult? Are you brought together to take part in the mission? But like in Nominee, you can be the different choirs and bands, but you have to work together to do a mission. Is that the way it works? I don't see this fitting in with the regular game. I see this being like a completely side thing on its own. Like you're in a completely different universe. Or I would see this in the Camarilla. These two sort of tied together, like a higher level vampire game, if I'm honest, just from a brief reading over it. So, main rulebook, the player's guide is more than enough to get you into this universe, and there's plenty of meat and bones for you. When you get into like these books, you're getting into more advanced play, more in-depth play. You essentially know everything there is to know about being a kindred vampire and your clan, and you're very familiar with other clans. And this is where you want to take it to a new level. So I would recommend, as a beginner player, don't, not saying not to get them, but I would stay away from these because it could be quite intimidating to pick up the Camarilla and this book if you're just starting out in this game. There's plenty to pick on your brain with this starting out. So I would leave these for a wee while. God, that was a bargain. I'll not lie, that was a bargain I picked up, and I'm quite happy. Bought them off a nice gent on a Facebook group, and we haven't got to this yet. Now, Chicago by Night, a source book for Vampire the Masquerade. If this is a scenario or a campaign, it looks like a campaign. I'm not going to, you know me, I'm not going to read stuff in case we end up playing it. I played a game of Toronto by Night on another channel. There was two of us that were experienced vampire players, and a lot of people that didn't get it, and we kind of took things a bit literally. So that game's all right. We got through it, but I don't know. Wasn't something I felt like returning to. What are we doing here? Introduction. Let's go to the introduction. The Sacrifice, Chicago Chronicles. If rumors are true, you've done more to rehabilitate your city in the eyes of Camarilla than perhaps any other American prince. You have enforced a strict masquerade, bringing your kindred safe from keeping your kindred safe from the Inquisition. You have, oh right, so the second Inquisition is the one that's currently going about in the game. Right, so this is a city setting. Chicago by Night is a campaign setting for Vampire the Masquerade, providing you with all the tools you need for running Chronicles in Chicago or indeed any other domain. As the content within the book is simple to extract and right. Okay, so as a campaign setting, you're choosing a city. This is the same as Toronto by Night. That's a whole campaign setting in itself. So that's what this is. So I'm not going to go too in depth in it because, like I said, I could end up playing this at some stage. I don't want to spoil it, but it goes into the who NPC. There'll be a lot of NPCs in this. There will be plot points. There'll be things going on, and basically how to operate in that city. The prince has set it up a certain way. It's of notoriety. Basically, you take part in adventures in that city, and there might be forces looking to tear the city down, and take it over for themselves, or out of jealousy because the way it's run so well, and the prince has the ear of the Camarilla, and of course other princes don't like that, so they'll be playing their games. There's all that kind of stuff in here. This doesn't mean you play this all at once. You can play them as scenarios within the city. So, for example, I'll equate it to Call of Cthulhu, Tatters of the King. That was split into 3 books. And when we played that, we would take a break in between each session just to refresh ourselves. Currently with Alien, the Draconis Strain trilogy, that's split into 3 parts. Chart of the Gods, God's sake. Heart of Darkness is next. We're coming back to finish that off, but between each one, why have I forgotten the one we just finished? I'm a numpty. But that was split into parts. In between each one, you take a break, we'll play other games, and then we'll come back to the main scenario and complete the campaign. Like the Draconis Strain trilogy is an entire campaign. So this will be pretty much the same thing. There'll be certain scenarios you can play in this. It'll have its own title, but it's within the Chicago by Night setting. And as you can see, there's quite a bit there. So there you go. There's that. I have to say, nice little haul. Quite happy. I have quite a bit of reading to do, but we will be playing. Sorry, step away from the mic. We will be starting gameplay in December on Evil Live, and we are planning to begin that adventure in January. So there you go. There will, of course, be other vampire games like an IMT. There's vampire games being played. There's werewolf games being played. I haven't got involved in any yet because I got a whole channel here to run as well as what we're doing. If you like role-playing games, we're currently playing Morkborg on this channel, which is a lot of fun. We will be back to Alien in the new year. At some stage, there will be a vampire game or something on this. Like, don't know when, but it'll happen at some stage. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, keep up to date with the channel, do type of things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.